Welcome everyone to the Fast Enterprises info session. And today we're going to have a couple employees of Fast Enterprises talk about their company and also give some tips and strategies on technical interviews. Nicole, would you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah, my name's Nicole from the HR team at Fast. I've been with Fast for about 4.5 years now, and we like to talk about locations, and you'll see why in a bit. But I'm from Chicago area, went to school at Iowa State, and now am in just south of Denver, Colorado.
And Luke?
Hey, I'm Luke. I'm an implementation consultant at Fast Enterprises. I'm also in the southern Denver area. I work on the Colorado Tax Project. I am originally from the Seattle area, and I actually went to school at Central Washington University.
Oh, nice. An alum. Great. And for students that don't know much about Fast Enterprises, could one of you give a little rundown of what you do?
Yeah. So we are kind of a hybrid between consulting and configuring software. We have 3 commercial off-the-shelf software systems that we contract on with government agencies or government entities. And yeah, I have a little presentation. I can share my screen and just kind of jump in there as well. Oops. Let me get that shared, and then yeah, we can just go through that a bit. And oh, it already was shared, was it not? Oh no, there we go. Cool. So yeah, so we'll talk about interview steps or tips, I guess, and especially our interview process, but also just generic ones, anything that is working with software or technical companies. We're trying to keep it general enough to be able to talk to, let's see here, a lot of people, and then talk about Fast a little bit. So yeah, a little bit of a workshop. I can send Mr. Woods here, Dr. Woods here, a couple supplemental activities and things to look at afterwards as well. And then, yeah, so right, Fast itself, let me get all these slides up. So software consulting for government, we started in '99 with Gentax. So we have 3 main systems total, and then you see the years that we started them. But Gentax, that's a tax processing software working with state level Department of Revenue. We also have a driver vehicle services. So again, working with usually state level Department of Motor Vehicles, and an unemployment insurance service. So we'll take those 3, and they're an 80% pre-built system, and we will configure that last 20% to fit the needs of project sites. Now, here's our current map as we stand right now. So everything in blue is clients. We have never lost a client, so we've definitely been growing a lot. And I guess what this kind of looks like for full-time and for internships. And as a heads up, we are hiring full-time. We have not slowed down at all, even with everything going on. So we're definitely looking for as many full-time hires as possible. The career fair is next week on Thursday, and we are looking to hire people on from that. So definitely stop by. But for full-time, a project site itself takes about 2 to 4 years to implement, and then every 2 to 4 years you would actually relocate to a new project site. And with that, if that sounds intimidating, we do have a whole relocation package for each move. So we have a relocation team that coordinates with local moving companies to pack, ship, and unload your belongings. We will fly you out there. We'll ship your car up there. You have up to a 2-week hotel stay at your new project site to give you time to find housing if you haven't already, and a moving bonus with each move as well. So logistically, these should be some of the easiest moves that you make. And yeah, Luke, I'll have you jump in here. Can you talk about some of your relocation experiences and kind of where you've been?
Yeah, so I only relocated the one time from Washington to Denver, but it was, like Nicole said, it was the easiest move. Like everything was taken care of for me. Like I asked their moving company, I was like, should I box anything? They're like, no, we'll box everything. And they just moved it all over for me. They actually shipped my car early. So then when I got here for orientation and training and all that, I just got my car at the airport and drove to my hotel. It was easy. I've moved a couple times since then by myself, and I really wish that it had been fast moving me, because it's not fun by yourself.
Yes, I have done the same as well. And yeah, I wish we could have that every time. I actually, when I moved from Chicago area to Denver, my car wasn't there yet, but I got to, they rented me a Jeep for like a week and a half. So that was kind of fun. But yeah, so logistically, we take care of everything. And for internships, we're looking for the summer, at least 12 weeks. We will put you on one of these project sites for the summer. We purposefully get you out of Washington State or whatever state you are from. If you're from one state and going to school at Central Washington, I try to make a note to get you out of both, to try somewhere new and see what that's like. It is a paid internship, and we do provide housing as well. And then we will expense any mileage it takes to get to that project site. The kind of intention is that you would road trip out there so you then can have a car, and we'll expense any mileage and all that. But if you don't have a car, we will work with that as well, and fly you to that location and try to put you in a place with good public transportation as well. Now, we do have a couple international sites, definitely not somewhere as an intern, and not as likely as a full-time hire, just because with this commercial off-the-shelf system, it's a proprietary software. It's not something you'll be able to study, I guess, and practice beforehand. And with these federal level sites, it's a lot more changes to the core. It's pretty deep in there. So we want everyone to get some experience first, and then definitely options down the road if you are interested. Let's see. And so that's kind of the structure of FAST. And I guess the team size, I didn't say. FAST itself has about 1,600 employees total, and those project sites, the previous slide, are teams of about 10 to 30 about on each one, kind of divided into sub-teams, and I'll let Luke talk about that in just a second here. But yeah. Now, what we do in the different languages. So we work with SQL and Visual Basic.NET as our main languages. And the other big part of this is the consulting side. So we are a software company. This is a software job, but it is definitely not a nose down coding job by any means. You are up and out and working with the clients and gathering requirements and maybe putting on demos and being that, I guess, building relationships too with that client. So we hire a lot of different majors, usually STEM, because we do need to see some kind of language experience. With these two in mind, all I'm actually looking for in a resume is any kind of object-oriented programming. So Java, C++, C#, anything like that. But also the people side as well, the communication side. That's why we do most of our hiring from career fairs. And at this point, it's once you get on a video call, I do think it's pretty similar than being in person as well. But yeah, so the implementation consultant is a mix of both. This training kind of circle bubble here is how we kind of move forward past these project sites. So a maybe like 3 to 6 person training coordinator team will move in towards the middle to middle end of a project site to teach a select group of government workers on how to be an expert in the software system itself. So they go out and teach the rest of their branches or the rest of their team how to be an expert, so we can move on to new clients at some point. We've never lost a client, I think I said that, so we do kind of have ongoing production support, but yeah, we try to make sure they can answer questions as well. So yes, this red-orange bubble here, that implementation consultant and implementation intern is the main positions we hire for. The tech team and conversion team are kind of ways to specialize that role. It's going to look pretty similar to those first couple of months on site, just again, because it's a proprietary system, but a little bit more on the networking framework side. That conversion team is especially there for brand new clients because you're going to help convert a lot of legacy data at that point. And then that training coordinator position as well. So Luke, who is an implementation consultant, I'm on the HR team at FAST, but can you talk about kind of what your team structure is like and just kind of what that looks like?
Yeah, so project I'm on, the Colorado Tax Project, is a uh, production support project. I think Nicole mentioned that earlier. We're not actively developing the system, we're just supporting it. So we don't have too many, like we have 2 tech team members and we have no conversion team members. We have no training coordinators, but it's mostly implementation consultants. And the way it's broken up, the team I'm on is in charge of the e-services side of the product. So everything that the not internal agency would see, so like outside people, like accountants and people who are trying to file their taxes, that's mostly what I work on, and returns as well. And then there's other teams on the project that work with like registration, like registering a customer, or like updating their information, and financials, I think, is the other team in there. So they're dealing mostly with how the money transfers through the product. Yeah, we have those main 3 teams, at least at Colorado Tax.
Yeah. So again, that the implementation consultant is definitely a broad term, an umbrella term. We have a very flat structure. So there are a lot of people at FAST with that title, but obviously not doing the same thing. You are divided into certain areas. You might kind of choose your career path to specialize in a certain area, or maybe you want to be that person who has like a wide breadth of knowledge. So it's kind of like however you make it. We do have annual reviews and employee reviews and annual salary adjustments depending on your performance, basically. But we don't have like an IC1, IC2, IC3 kind of ladder to climb. You're in these small project sites. So kind of no matter how big we get, and we are growing a lot, you're always going to be in these smaller teams, and that project manager on your site has the autonomy to kind of run things however he or she likes. So, yeah, all right, what else? Well, that is all that for FAST itself. Wanted to be quick about it and just kind of get you the gist of what we're about. Definitely would recommend to come see us at the career fair. I believe we are on Career Fair, Career Fair Plus. And you can sign up for your own slots. I think that is a great tool for students to be able to see a lot more employers than what you normally would. You can schedule these time slots, and know when you're going to see them and not have to wait in lines and all that. One little tip I'd recommend is we have these time commitments and timelines, I guess, for each chat. I would maybe recommend to schedule every other time slot. For me, on the employer side, it goes by so fast, and you do have to switch gears very quickly. So if you have the time to kind of space it out a bit, I would definitely recommend that. Also, just because I was at a career fair today and definitely have tips, have a PDF of your resume ready. I think you can make one in your profile anyway, but in case they want you to send it, just have one ready on your desktop to send. And, I still expect business casual, business professional, I guess, dress and yeah, kind of the same things as a career fair. Like I said, once we are on video, it functions pretty similarly. So cool. I'm sure I'll think of more as I go. But as far as the interview process as well, so what that kind of looks like is I'm going to send, or I'll have some material afterwards of a little analytical activity that we have our candidates take. We have some whiteboard questions that you'll see in here, and maybe I'll just let you see if you can find the answer from the presentation itself, but we can post that later on as well. And then tips for that behavioral part. So a lot of this is very much tips of what we do as an interview process. If you are listening to this and interviewing with FAST later on, like you should be good to go. But it's also just things you'll encounter with other companies as well, and things Luke had to go through, 3 years ago now. Luke, how did you find FAST in the first place?
How did I know to apply to FAST?
Or did you go to a career fair? Did you find it online? Did someone tell you?
So actually, a recruiter and a alum came to one of my classes and gave a presentation all about FAST, and then I was really interested in the whole they move you, like, because I been in Washington my entire life. So I was like, oh, I want to work there. So then I went to a career fair and met with someone there, and then from there they were like, all right, cool, we want to interview you, and then they flew me out to Colorado.
Yeah, easy enough. Yeah, usually our final interview is at our headquarters in Centennial, Colorado, but everything is virtual for now. But yeah, Luke, those are class talks. Those are we love those because they're quick and probably like 5 minutes in that classroom, was it?
Yeah, it was very short, but it was enough information. And I think we even had like the alum took questions that we had about anything pretty much. So it was nice.
Yeah, so we definitely like those a lot. And again, just to get our name out there, we know we're not a brand name company, but I think I personally, when I interviewed with FAST, again, in the HR side, it's a little bit different, but for the longest time until I started, people were like, what does your company do? And I'm like, I don't really know until you get in it, until you start, but you are kind of finding a really cool culture with it all. So anyway, so analytical activity. So usually I'd send this out so you guys can see it, but when you do see it, it is what our actual version is. We kind of have a shortened version that I'll send later on, but it's just like 30 questions, kind of a Mensa style activity, and then a like pseudocode question at the end. So kind of a lot of people, it throws a lot of people, and the beginning of an interview, that's kind of the first thing you see is this kind of unrelated seeming little activity plus the pseudocode, but we do have a point, and that point is the fact of just trying to show your work as you go, but also like time management. It surprises me how much, no matter how well you're doing or not, it's multiple choice. So circle an answer, just get something down, and try to go back and use that time management wisely. But it does. A lot of times I see people fixated on maybe the first like 10 or 15 and leave the rest blank. And to me, that's seeing you're just not getting that time management in mind and having those deadlines in mind when you're walking through this activity. So yeah, that's a lot of what it is for that part. And again, small portion, I guess, overall, but something that, again, we're just trying to throw you a little bit and see if you can just run with it. That pseudocode is definitely a bigger portion of it. And the biggest thing there is, like I said, we are a tech company, but because we are so people focused, communication focused, we just kind of want to see you think out loud. And I think a lot of other companies too some maybe might be strict if you need to know this language that we have. For someone like us, like you need to know kind of related things, but it's okay if it's not coded in VB.net. I never see that, or C++ or anything like that. We just kind of want to see your thought process and see if you catch mistakes as you go. I love seeing that as well as you're coding. A lot of companies, I'm sure, will ask you to talk out loud to explain it. And if it's not perfect right away, that's fine. But if you just kind of, as people are walking me through it, seeing where you can change things and just jumping in, not waiting to be asked to change it, but just showing that you found it quickly and are moving on and adjusting as well. We also, again, will poke, even if it does work, we'll always ask, like, okay, what else can you see? What else can you find? And again, it's just trying to see your thought process and not try to get you flustered, but try to see how you react to someone questioning your work, I guess, and not in any, this is wrong, but just trying to see you like, okay, yeah, let's look, let's see what's out there. And so that attitude is just such a big part of that interview process. Luke, do you remember, what was your major at school? Do you remember that pseudocode part?
Yeah, I do remember the pseudocode part. It was, oh shoot. I don't remember exactly what the problem was, but it was like finding all the prime numbers between 1 and 100 or something like that.
Yeah. And what was your major again?
My major was computer science.
Okay, yeah. So when I see computer science majors, that's where I expect them to do pretty good on questions like this. And so I'll focus more on the prodding part and seeing how how you kind of adjust to that. I think I like to say like the best and worst for each of these little 3 activities, and the best thing you can do is, like I said, talk out loud, fix answers as you go. I love when people are like, oh, okay, cool, all right, let's try to jump in, and like that. I just love that attitude. And the worst thing you can do is when we say like, how can you make it better? And I've had a couple be like, people say like, nah, it's good, it's perfect, and just kind of stop. And you're like, no. So just keep that in mind. Again, a lot of people maybe aren't looking for perfection immediately, but are looking for that problem-solving mentality. Cool. I think we have a little puzzle that my colleague Nikki, who made this presentation, has made. So we are putting the pieces together as we go. So this is the next section of our interview process, and a lot of interviews is a whiteboarding section, whether that is literally getting up and writing on a whiteboard, which is what we do in our in-person interviews. We kind of have a way to make it work as well with virtual, so we will get you up there. And this one is something I have asked on my screens over here. That's why I keep looking over here. But that's something I have asked on interviews before, is this question. So I will let you guys look at it, and we'll maybe post what the answer is later on as well. Cool. Well, we won't spend too much time. Again, we have a little fun countdown with some music. I'm not sure if you guys can hear that. But the point of these kind of whiteboarding things is, again, it's a problem-solving question. It's not a coding question. It's not, I think analytical mindsets do a lot better, as in I don't do very good at these because I'm more the opposite thinking on my end. But yeah, it's these puzzles, it's these little puzzle problems that are meant for you to do a couple things. One is to, again, think out loud. We're very big on that. I know a lot of people are. And showing your work, again, you have to be able to let other people follow you to see what you're doing and why and how. We kind of have a documentation process at FAST, and it's just to let new hires and just new people to project sites figure out what's going on. So even something as silly as, an apples and oranges problem, I like when people write it out and make little baskets and label them, and so I can see what they're doing as well. And kind of again, attitude is so important for, if you're seeing a theme here, for the interviews themselves. Again, the worst thing you can do here is to just say like, I don't know, I can't do anymore, I can't figure it out, like, can we move on to the next one? Because the next one's probably going to be the same type level or maybe even harder. So that give up is kind of our automatic red flag for questions like this. Ask clarifying questions, ask maybe for hints, and that's fine. And when people do that, we look for like, okay, the hint we gave you, are you using it? Or is it just kind of going over your head and you're not really quite understanding, what we're trying to get at or how to use that information wisely. So you can ask questions, you can ask clarifying questions. Like, I like when people sit and think for a second and then maybe ask like kind of specifics of like, what are my parameters type questions. That's good. You're finding information. You're trying to do that before you dig in, and use those hints and questions wisely. And kind of our biggest gain from these whiteboarding is the grit. Can you keep going? Can you maybe fail a few times and not get flustered by it? We kind of say, with just the way our software works, is every time you find something that didn't work, you are finding information. You are learning something when you do that. So I like when people run through this with that apples and oranges problem, when they choose a way and then they're like, I don't know if this is right. I'm like, well, go through it, go all the way through and see what happens. And yeah, you are learning information. So yeah, and same thing as that pseudocode is not to be defensive, not to get flustered, to use the hints. And yeah, again, we hire a lot of different majors. Math majors tend to be the most notorious. Like, this gets under their skin until they can figure it out, and like that's cool. Like, that's cool to see the passion behind it as well. All right, I think our little puzzle's building. Oh, yes. Okay, and then the last part I think is always kind of fun for me. This is my favorite part of the interview as an interviewer, and I think everyone's least favorite part is the behavioral questions. Yeah, so a couple tips there. The tell me about yourself. I start pretty much everything off this way, and you can go through the, this is my name, this is my major, and year I graduate and all that. But please do not just start listing every single point on your resume. That's what I'm there for. Like, I can read that. That's what I usually have it up on the other screen, and I'm looking at it as well. So especially career fairs when they're so quick. Too much information. What I want to know with a question like this is, here's my school major, I'm looking for full-time, and here's a couple things I'm passionate about. Here's a couple things I saw in your company that I think is cool, and I think aligns with myself. And then I personally do like just a quick little tidbits of like, and here's a couple things I do in my free time as well. Again, by the time you get to an interview, I've read your qualifications. I'm pretty sure you're qualified. We'll ask a couple questions there, but now I'm trying to get at if you're a fit, if you're a culture fit for our company and for each recruiter, each company as well. That's what the interview process is nice for, to get in person or online and be able to see that. Luke, I'm gonna stop talking for a second. Did you like this part of your? What did you say? Do you remember?
For the tell me about yourself?
Or just kind of your soft skills part. How did that go, I guess, or what kind of things did you ask or learn?
Yeah, so when I got to this part of my interview, I think it was the last bit. I think it was after I'd done all the whiteboarding. The interviewer asked me this, and I kind of was just like, I told them why I wanted the job, or like why I wanted to work at FAST is because of the in person, like you're working with people, not with just computers. So that was like my biggest thing. What I was looking for in a job was not just being heads down coding, and the fact that I loved to learn, like I still love to learn. And so that was one of the questions I asked. Is I asked how much the interviewer felt like they were learning on the job, and he told me that he felt like he learned every day. So I was like, yeah, I was pretty interested. Yeah.
Yeah, and to me as a candidate for FAST or any company, that's showing a personal interest in your career growth, and then also research. I don't think I've mentioned this yet, which is odd, but like research. The company, and the job you're applying for, and all of that. Again, career fair wise, a little bit more lenient. This is your chance to learn about companies. Virtual career fair wise, you can look us up like a minute before you start and whatever company you're talking to, and at least get a little bit of info with that there. But by the time of an interview, I expect you to know our industry and our kind of our main clients, and maybe our software systems itself. And yeah, so for any company, you're going to like take 15, 30 minutes to just look through things, look through some news articles if they've been in the news lately, and see what's kind of new with that as well. That's kind of a sidetrack, but anyway, tell me about yourself. Okay, as far as your greatest weakness, I avoid asking this these days, but I'm sure you will hear it before. My biggest tip and advice with this is, do not make it an obvious, like I'm a perfectionist and it's hard to not be that. No. Something that you're actually trying to improve on. And kind of the biggest thing here is like, say it's, I don't know, just something like time management. Like I tend to wait too long close to a deadline to work on my assignments. But I've learned in the last couple of years at school that if I get together with groups in the same class earlier, I'm more motivated to start it earlier. So they can be realistic. They should be realistic. And you also should be talking about not that whole spin of like, oh, I work too hard, but like it'll be fine. I'll work too hard for you. Not that at this point. it's the what steps have you taken to work on that weakness, and then can continue to work on at whatever company you are looking for. Where you see yourself in 5 years, you should think about this, especially seniors. And I guess a couple things here. One, I want you to kind of be thinking about what you want your future to look like. If it's a company that you know of has all these different levels, like maybe talk about, like I see you have some of these different managerial roles, and I'll be kind of striving for maybe something like that. Or I kind of like, you know, I'm thinking of like the Googles and Microsofts of just of huge branches, huge divisions of like, I'm ready to start wherever works best, but I'm kind of interested in this particular area, or these are kind of the things I'm passionate about. So yeah, have in mind. However, be a little bit careful on pigeonholing yourself. I also have had the extreme example of, yes, I'd like to work for about 2 to 3 years and then like start my own company, or go back to grad school. And as an employer, I don't really want to invest in just those 2 to 3 years. So just be careful, but I don't know, do some kind of thinking on your own. Similar to the salary requirements question, I actually really don't like when people just say, I don't know. Know your worth, know what your degree is worth, and especially the technical degrees that I'm sure a lot of people, you know, listening to this presentation is maybe more geared, well, definitely more geared towards the technical interview, but that's higher. It's a little bit higher than non-technical. So look on Glassdoor, look on, I think, salary.com. I have some resources I can send over as well, but kind of just, you know your range. And I think do give a range. And I love when people say, you know, a number, but you can go higher than that. And like, yes, I know we will if it's under your range. But yeah, do a little bit of research as well. Careful on Glassdoor. Make sure you're trying to look at how many years in the company they've been as well, because that might kind of skew your results a bit. Let's see. I think that's kind of it for the behavioral itself. I mean, as far as, though they're just kind of popular questions, but this is the chance to market yourself a bit and talk about, you know, your strengths and what you've maybe learned from past internships and just, or class or work experiences, or group projects. So what I'm trying to say, experiences as well that you want to bring to a company. We have this kind of culture ad. I think I've kind of mentioned this before, is that we kind of want to see how you will fit in a company. So, you know, this is not the time to fake it until you make it. That's maybe once you start, you're gonna try to figure it out and ask questions and all that, but you want to find a company that actually fits you as well. So that's kind of with my interview process with FAST, not to, I mean, just talk about FAST, it's just what my personal experience is, but they're just kind of not easy interviews, but easy to talk to people in the interviews. And that, as someone who's going into a job of recruiting in HR, that was really nice, and it wasn't intimidating, and that's kind of what we're trying to do with our interviews themselves. So yeah, do keep that in mind. Attitudes in the middle there on purpose, because every single one of these sections is so dependent on attitude as well. Not just overconfident, I think I've kind of mentioned on that end, but even the like underconfident too. If you are so nervous that it's hard to just get to know you, like that's hard for me to kind of do something with that. Even with the pseudocode, I had someone a couple weeks ago who was kind of just blanking altogether on it, and we were trying to give her hints, but she was just so nervous, not even nervous, but I don't know, embarrassed that she blanked in the first place, that she just couldn't get over it, and spent, you know, the 8 out of 10 minutes on these quicker interviews that we have for this, kind of just saying sorry, and you know, like, I know this, and like, I can't believe I don't know this, and it's okay, let's just move on, let's talk about other things. Let's yeah, just try something else out. But that kind of did her in, because I couldn't get a gauge on anything, because she was just so nervous and so kind of fixated on that. So attitude, so much. Yeah, technical skills. So this is kind of a pyramid, that technical skills is at the top is the smallest part, because to us it is the most teachable. You do need to have kind of a skill set in place, but we want kind of the rest of it more than your pure coding skills as well. So do keep that in mind, and you know, whatever technical interview you're going into, do the research, see what kind of languages they're working in, have that kind of knowledge in the back of your head. But if you do kind of feel like you did poorly on any kind of technical portion, that's probably not, like, you're not probably done for at that point. Like, keep going and keep your energy up as well. Yeah, I think that's all I have. Yeah, we got the job. So that is it. Perfect. So just all of review here of research practice and beforehand. Show your interest. I don't think that can be, I like that we put that on here with my coworker, because we do gauge that too. We can tell if you're kind of mentally out of it. So keep your smiles up, keep your energy up. And yeah, like your interest and your passions up as well. And knowing the next steps afterwards, send a thank you email. At this point, I don't recommend thank you cards anymore. Most likely the decision's been made by the time it comes in. And then I did get a card this semester. Luckily it was someone that we moved forward with, so it was all good. But yeah, that decision's already done. But yeah, okay, well that is all I have.
I got a couple of questions, if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course.
You have these kind of semi-temporary sites, 2 to 4 years. What's the reason for that?
Yeah, so that's how long a project site typically just lasts, from that contract lasts. And then at that point, we want you to just move on to a new project site itself. And we're having you move there to be able to form those relationships and have that face-to-face.
Kind of starting from scratch, building it up, and then you have everything running, and then you're able to move on to a new place and do it again?
Yeah, okay. and kind of purposely not necessarily starting from scratch. We're starting with that 80% already built, so we don't have.
Okay.
And then Luke is kind of a good example of we do keep a presence on every project site, probably why you're in a smaller team, Luke, but so we don't necessarily entirely leave any clients, but it will be a lot smaller. So is that what it's like for you, Luke?
Yeah, it was when I first joined, I think there was only like 9 other people on the project.
Mm-hmm. Because that project at that point was mostly, that rollout already happened.
Yep. And the only reason the project has gone a little bigger now is because we're upgrading the system. So it's more of a active development instead of just supporting.
Mm-hmm. So we'll kind of go through those cycles.
Thank you. Obviously, computer science makes sense. What other majors do you hire for?
Yeah, information systems or management information systems is a big one. That's kind of a very natural tech and business mix that works well for us. Math majors, I think I mentioned as well. Engineering, software and computer engineering especially, but also mechanical and electrical. And at that point, I just really want to talk about what you're personally interested in, as long as you're interested on the software side of things. And then what some outliers of like math or stats, econ, physics even. We are very open. It's with those last 3, it's really just having some coding experience, and usually that happens to be like a physics major who maybe kind of got stuck in the major and can't switch at this point, but has an interest in, on the coding side or technical side. So yeah, that works for us because we are so flat. We don't have any kind of like engineering goes here, computer science goes there. Everyone is an implementation consultant with their own strengths, and we like having that mix.
And you mentioned project management earlier. Is that something you kind of build in those roles inside people to get experience kind of at the entry level, and then they are able to become a project manager, or do you hire project managers to begin with? Oh,
no, I think almost all of them have started off as entry level, and
yeah,
just kind of learned from there. And I'd also say that there are plenty of people who've been with FAST. Even having someone work like 10, 12 years is kind of a big deal, because 10, 12 years ago, I think we were at like 300 people maybe out of like 60. So there aren't many of them, but that are still an implementation consultant. That still is definitely, the project manager is not the kind of end all be all track. It's just kind of whatever, because that is more of now people side than side. So yeah, just kind of whatever you make it.
Any public relations advertising type roles?
Actually, not really. Just because we don't really advertise. You won't really see like a fast ad anywhere. All governments sending out an RFI, request for information, and then we have like a kind of, I guess, a marketing or a proposal team, and they use to respond and then do an RFP, a request for a proposal, and then go through kind of the demo process. So all of our growth has been kind of through word of mouth of different government agencies, and why we kind of are spreading out from like little pockets of people we start on that the other state, the other agency. We've had agencies even like come to a different agency and kind of demo, see what it's like, and be able to kind of go from there. So, no.
So that says a lot to go from 300 to 1600 in 10 to 12 years without a lot of advertising.
Oh yeah, no. So I started 4.5 years ago, and we were at 800, and now right now 16. So
Yeah,
busy.
awesome. Well, I really appreciate the presentation. This is really great information for our students, and I thank you, Nicole and Luke, for coming today and talking about this.
Of course, no problem. I will stop this, and yes, if this is seen and posted before the career fair, come see us at the fair. That is definitely the best way to ask any questions, especially about maybe what you learned today, and just I guess like get the application going more than anything.
Great. Well, thank you both very much.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
maybe I'll see one of you or both of you at the career fair.